Welcome to Radio Dead Air Tech Q&A. You've got questions, we've got guesses. I'm Nash. I've been doing Radio Dead Air for ages, but in addition to that, I'm also an IT professional. With me, as always, my producer, Mike Gearman, is also in IT. If you have tech questions for us, you can send those to requests at radiodeadair.com. We will attempt to put those on for you. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad, not too bad.
So we've got some news tonight, and then we're going to look at your questions. As always, hi, buddy. Hi. Let's say hi. Come up here and say hi. Say hi. You say hi. It's Charlie. Charlie, say hi.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, bud. He's a good boy. Hello. He's a good Charlie. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. He's saying bye-bye. Okay, so we have some news, and that tariff stuff is filtering down. Looks like used to be when you have a console or a game system that hits a certain age. Eventually, well, it stops. It gets cheaper because, you know, it's been around in the market for a while, and you knock some price off of it a little bit just to keep moving it out in anticipation for a new one. Then we had the current administration, and shit. This is irritating as hell. The Nintendo Switch is about to get more expensive. Now, I know what you were saying out there. What? The Switch 2 is already $450. We're not talking about the Switch 2. We're talking about the Switch. The 8-year-old console. The one that's been on the market forever is now about to get more expensive. How much more expensive, you ask? Well, that's an excellent question. The Switch is going to be moving to $340, the Switch Lite to $230, and the Switch OLED to $400. So that's a $40 price increase on the original Switch, a $30 increase on the Lite, and a $50 increase on the OLED, which just puts it $50 less than the Switch 2, which means pretty much the Switch OLED is a dead product.
Yeah. There's no reason to buy it unless you're just like, no, I've got to have it because it says OLED. I mean, there's one person out there who's doing that, and I base this entirely on the fact that people still buy Mac products.
So more trading value from GameStop. Satine, that's funny. You're funny. That's a funny joke you just made. That's very funny. So yeah, this is that we already had the Xbox announcing that the Series X and the Series S, which have been on the market for about 5 years or so now, they're getting a $80 increase for the S and $100 bump for the X, which makes them kind of terrible propositions.
This all comes back, of course, to the wildly oscillating tariffs, which nobody can plan for. So they're going, well, we can't plan for this, so we'll just make it higher than we think that they'll go max. And okay.
And I want to point out, the Switch 2 is not getting any more expensive. It's still $450 USD. It's not moving up. But these are all
this week.
This week.
Yeah. Who knows what next week?
These are all of the older Switches. Now, what it looked like Nintendo was going to do is they were going to leave the Switch alone as the value proposition version of the ecosystem. So you could get like a Switch Lite or a Switch for, you know, entry-level pricing. And then if you could afford to get like the big one, you could. But otherwise, you know, if you wanted to play Switch games, you still had the option to get the Lite for $200. Well, now it's $230, which is not good. This is very stupid. This is not how we're used to electronics pricing going in the United States. Not for anything. Not for TVs, not for computer hardware, any of that stuff. We're not used to the price of an existing item that's been on the market for a long time suddenly increasing. And this is going to be a little bit of a shock for a lot of people who have been, buying stuff forever and ever. Because I don't see how this. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Of course, there is the taco statement. Trump always chickens out. And maybe the tariffs that are scheduled for next week don't happen. Maybe they do. Maybe they happen a month from now. Maybe they don't. A lot of the companies that have been raising their prices because of these tariffs that may or may not have been implemented are not going to lower them if the tariffs all magically went away tomorrow.
No, probably not. But this is pretty much cuts the throat. The Switch OLED has no point on the market. And now the original Switch is the same price as the OLED used to be. At $400, the OLED it's a dead product. Because $50, it's at, when you're talking the difference between 400 and 450, 450 gets you the next generation console with the extra features and all the other stuff. And what does $50 less get you? The previous generation with a nicer screen. I'm pretty sure, doesn't the Switch 2 have an OLED? Let me double check.
I don't know.
No, there's not an OLED on the Switch 2. But so you have to decide if you want the Switch 2 or you want a Switch that looks really good, I guess, if you're really concerned about OLED. But I mean, to me, that just says dead product. Unless someone is really, 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 really interested in watching season 8 of Game of Thrones on their Switch. That's the only time an OLED on the Switch makes any sense to me. So yeah, this is, brace for it, I guess, is all we can say. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Speaking of other things you can brace for, so you were dumb enough to use ChatGPT. Well, guess what? Now you're going to pay for it.
Your search history was available to anyone who figured out the command to make it available. Now, keep in mind, you did have to turn on. You did have to turn it on to do this, and there was apparently it was not trivial to turn it on, but it was not trivial. It was like you check a box and it goes, "Are you sure? Yeah. Are you really sure? Yeah." And then it was available. Now they've since turned off whatever it was. However, they've de-indexed it. They're working with other search providers to de-index thousands of shared chats.
Thousands
as a broader effort to reinforce user privacy and trust. Okay, so reinforcing user privacy and trust is, of course, a good thing. Not making it available to begin with, having that fired off those 3 or 4 extra brain cells to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, would have been a good thing to do.
What's really crazy is
a
the stuff
discoverable option was a bad idea to begin with.
What's really crazy is the stuff people were putting into ChatGPT. They were putting in their entire resumes with their contact information and all that stuff. They were asking it crazy shit, like about marital infidelity and all sorts of personal stuff and like psychological issues and
mental health issues. Trying to ask ChatGPT if your wife is cheating on you, and it goes, well, it would go, I can't tell. And so you'd feed it all sorts of personal information, like your bank records, to go analyze what she's been doing here with these bank records and tell me if she's cheating on me. Congratulations, you've just now published your bank records.
The stuff people are, this is not a brain this is not like an oracle you go and consult, right? This is not like fucking Delphi and shit. This is not.
I'm going to interrupt you here because I need to say something here. If you look at the entire history of Greek myth, and that's possibly a little exaggerated there, everyone who went to an oracle, if they hadn't gone to an oracle, would have been better off.
This is not like your priest. This is not like, oh, there's ethics and morals and there's privacy. Why would there be? You're not talking to a person.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to interject there again. Why would something done by, let's see, was this OpenAI or this ChatGPT? Who does ChatGPT? ChatGPT is Sam Altman?
It's OpenAI. Yeah, Altman. Yeah.
So why would anything programmed by Sam Altman have a conscience?
It's just the fact that this was all right. The fact this was a feature to begin with is mind blowing. But also, we can see what you dipshits have been putting into this thing, and Indeed. Wow, you really are dipshits. Like I'm sitting here going, who thinks they need this technology to do basic tasks? And now we're finding out who needs it, and it's exactly who you would expect.
I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't. Okay, let me back that up. I'm certain when this leaked and this first came out that there was someone out there going, I'm putting in names and seeing if I can find this person's name doing this and looking for presidential advisors. One of those people is like, should we invade Iran?
I just... The extent of the stuff people were asking of this, and I want to reiterate, it is in no way qualified to assist with any of it.
No.
Any of it. Any more than the autocorrect on your phone is qualified to assist with shit.
Okay, so and the autocorrect on your phone at least will go, that's not how you spell strawberry.
And get it and understand how to spell strawberry.
ChatGPT can't tell you how many R's there are in strawberry, or it couldn't. I would assume because that was a very high noticed how many R's are there in strawberry sort of news story.
Fuck if I know.
I mean, it said 2.
Strawberry.
It didn't. And that's what always gets me about these programs. It's asked a question that an analytic engine should be able to at least sort of have back from programming that says, is this a question that I honestly need? Does this need to be passed off to something else? Is this a math question? If you're asking it, what is 2 plus 2? You don't need to pass it to the rainforest burning down portion of the program. You need to pass it to Wolfram Alpha's little brother.
I mean, or you could just pull out a calculator. It's built into every damn thing.
Indeed. You pass it off to something that goes, I acknowledge that quantifying how difficult a problem is itself a difficult problem. But some of the things should be easier to quantify and go, no, let's pass this off to the thing that doesn't need to process heavy on this. How many R's are in strawberry? And it just goes, I've counted those. There's this many.
There's 11.
The only reason I said this many is because I'm sitting here going in my head, is it 3? It is 3. I can spell, right?
There's 11. I'm sorry, there's not 11. You're right. There's 10. I'm sorry, you got me again. There aren't 10 R's in strawberry. There's only 15. Anyway. Speaking of more AI shenanigans, this is, do you remember Microsoft Bob?
I remember the paperclip. I'm not sure I remember Microsoft Bob. I'm going to look up Microsoft Bob, and I'm going to see the image of it to go, if I go, do I remember that?
Bob was once upon a time, it was a layer that they put over Windows to make Windows more personable and put a face on it.
Was this a smiley face with glasses?
Yeah, that was Bob, the smiley face with glasses.
I think I must have missed this one.
And it was a terrible product. It was so horrible. Then, of course, you had Clippy, which, hey, would you need help with that? And everyone hated it. Then you had Cortana, which they took a character from Halo and shoved it into Windows and be like, oh, this is... everybody hated that. So pretty much whenever Microsoft reaches the point, they start sticking faces on their products. That's when the flop sweat has begun.
They put a face on Steve Ballmer.
Well, now there is a face on Copilot. This is the face of Microsoft's Copilot. It's their appearance feature. This new mold they're rolling out to give it their face, literal face to their AI voice modes.
Do you know what I see when I see this? I see someone who has crippling anxiety and doesn't want you to know. That is, I'm really not sure if my job is going to be here next week, but on a marshmallow.
It looks like the fucking, what was the, was it Wellbutrin? It looks like the fucking, Zypram, one of those freaking mascots for antidepressants.
The one that had the stone that was bouncing along that would get depressed, and then it would rain on him and even worse, and then he'd take his drugs and he'd be better. Was that Zoloft?
Zoloft. Yeah, it was Zoloft. Yeah, it's the Zoloft. It's the fucking Zoloft mask. Of course, if you're not in the US, you're like, wait a minute, your drugs have mascots? It's horrible here. Things are terrible. Why didn't they just use Cortana? Well, Corum, they did. Just to tell you here. So yeah, they're going to be putting this, and this is after Grok had their anime waifu companions with the bouncing boobs. They went the other direction, something that has no discernible genitalia whatsoever. This nice, happy.
You know what else I see there, Nash?
What?
For the love of God and all that is holy.
My anus is bleeding. Yeah. It's like a scrubbing bubble that just couldn't, it washed out early.
We need to write these down and put these on Blue Sky.
So yeah, this is the one of the problems here is when they're trying to make a product relatable. Keep in mind, this week we got a question about Copilot. You'll see in a minute. People don't like it. It's not really reaching the user base. There is a special brand of laptops, the Copilot Plus, and they're more expensive than the regular laptops. And people don't want them because of the Copilot. So there's a lot going on here. And this is Microsoft's answer to it. They're trying to be like, well, it's nice and your friend now and it's smiling. You like it. You want to use the smiling little animated guy, right? And it's like Bonsai Buddy. It's, nobody, look, when you're trying to fucking fill out a form for your doctor's office so you can schedule your appointment shit. You got to send them this stuff. When you're trying to fill out an Excel spreadsheet, when you're trying to write an email, you just want to do the shit and be done with it. You don't want a bouncing, happy little face talking shit to tell you. No, you don't. I mean, it's
like everything will be better, Hank, once you finish the HR spreadsheet.
Yeah, this is every time Microsoft has attempted this. It's at it's when they've reached a sort of desperation point with the product. And they're like, well, what if we make it personable? It's always their like almost end stage attempt to salvage some shit. It's what if we make it? And it doesn't help here that Copilot is also, which Microsoft makes Copilot, they're also heavily invested in OpenAI.
Indeed.
And as far as anyone's concerned, the AI product is ChatGPT. So Copilot is competing with ChatGPT, and people are more, they know what ChatGPT, a lot of people don't even know what Copilot is on their damn computer. So
they just want it off.
So here's Microsoft competing with their own investment, which seems kind of weird, doesn't it? That seems little goofy,
little strange.
I don't understand what the hell's going on there. Yeah. So if you are a fan of Microsoft Copilot, get used to this, I guess. I don't know who you are. I mean, is there like two of you out there, maybe? Satine, how long do you take for Copilot to join Bonsai Buddy? Well, seeing as Copilot is already a privacy nightmare, it's already there, technically. Like, what sunk like? Bonsai? What?
It looks like a tooth that was trying out for a tooth decay commercial, but was not allowed because it didn't have roots.
It's the Bonsai Buddy. What brought Bonsai Buddy down was privacy violations and kids getting kids' information when it shouldn't have, and other issues. I don't understand how these new programs. I mean, these new programs are kind of worse than Bonsai Buddy, but nobody's doing shit about them. Anyway, so that's the news for this week. Oy vey. Now it's time to get your questions. If you have tech questions for Mike and myself, you can send those to requests at radiodeadair.com. We'll try and help you out. Let's see what we got here on the request. Don't have a lot this week. We do have a few. Okay, let's see. Our very first question, this one is about Copilot. This is from Liam. My current laptop is old and dying a slow death, so I'm in the market for a new laptop. What I don't need is anything too fancy spec-wise. I hope to get something with 32 gigs of RAM. However, it seems all the PCs with 32 gigs of RAM are now preloaded with Copilot Plus. Well, not exactly. When I looked into how to get rid of it, all I could find was ways to disable standard Copilot. Do either know how to remove or disable Copilot Plus, preferably without messing with the registry? Or is it better to find a laptop with less RAM and no Copilot Plus and hope the manufacturer made the RAM upgradable? Thanks for your help, Liam.
So there's actually a third option. I'm going to go over the third option because it is the simplest one to describe. And that is look for a refurbed laptop that has 32 gigs of RAM, because the odds of a refurb laptop being Copilot Plus capable is minimal.
We got back up. We got a little bit. You're incorrect. Copilot Plus is not different than standard Copilot. It is just a PC with hardware features that have been added to enable Copilot to do more stuff. Indeed. What more stuff? I'm not entirely sure. Typically,
Microsoft isn't entirely sure.
Yeah. Let me see. Copilot Plus PC. Let me see what they have right now, because I'm not even sure that there are any. Okay. AMD Ryzen AI 300 series, Intel Core Ultra, and Snapdragon X. All right, so they have moved on to the Intel. Let's see. Yeah, they've moved on to the Intel and Ryzen versions. Because for a while it was just Snapdragon Plus, and that wasn't even something you could use with regular Windows. You had to have the Snap, because that was a ARM version of Windows. Now they've moved on to the x64 versions with the Ryzen AI 3 Plus stuff. So first of all, all the Copilot stuff is a software feature that the Copilot Plus just uses more built-in neural processing unit is what they call it, an NPU. Is it actually a neural processor? No, they just call it that. It's a separate set-aside part of the CPU that is reserved for use with programs that do AI stuff. It's not even that big of a thing. Copilot Plus, and if you remove Copilot from the machine, Copilot Plus goes with it. That's it. It's all a software thing. It is not any special extra stuff. It's all software. So Copilot Plus and Copilot, if you get rid of Copilot on Windows, you get rid of Copilot Plus. Now you can search for laptops without it and look for ones you can upgrade to 32 gigs of RAM, or maybe look at a generation or two back in refurb laptops, like Mike was saying. You could potentially get Ryzen 7000 laptop, which is every bit as good as this 300 AI nonsense. The 7000s are really affordable too. And it might actually be less expensive to, I know, for example, because I looked into it, the HP Victus with the 15-inch screen and the RX 6800 mobile or 6700 mobile or whatever on it. That one has 8 gigs of RAM, but you can upgrade it all the way up to 64 if you want. So you just have to get the modules for it. And upgrading RAM, not that expensive compared to the price of the laptop. I think the Victus, you get that refurbed, it's like $500. And then you add the RAM on top of it. It's like maybe another, let's see, what's 32 gigs of 32 gigabytes DDR5 laptop RAM, and prices on that are not very bad. Let's see.
One thing to note though, with laptops, of course,
yeah.
Of course, one thing to note with laptops is that sometimes the RAM, adding it in, it's going to be in a very awkward location. You might have to disassemble a significant portion.
I've looked on the Victus. It's not. It's just you pull off the bottom panel. There you go. It's right there. I wasn't sure about that one. I've not played. We've had work laptops. I'm just going to give an example here. Yeah.
Where there were 2 RAM slots. One was very inaccessible, but that's the one they put the base RAM in.
Yeah.
The other RAM slot was like this one. Back panel comes off, put in new RAM. Now, where this became problematic is when we had to dispose of these laptops, and our disposal instructions said, remove the RAM.
Yeah.
You took a 5-minute job and turned it into a 30-minute job per computer. Thanks.
So I guess one of the things you can look up for whatever laptop you're thinking about buying is how hard it is to upgrade the RAM, and you'll probably find instructions online about how to do that with most laptops, unless it's Apple and they pre-solder the RAM in. And why would you buy one of those? In this instance, 32 gigs of DDR5 for a laptop, it's around $80. So it's not a huge. Getting a laptop where you can't upgrade the RAM and then just doing it yourself, if they don't come with 32 gigs, not a really expensive proposition, all told. But if otherwise you can just remove the Copilot stuff. All of that stuff can be removed. There is we've talked about this one before. We've mentioned it before. It is a program called, let's bring it up here. Win11 Debloat, and it will remove that stuff from your system. It's a script that will go through Windows. In addition to that, you can tell it to remove a whole bunch of other stuff you might not need. Like if you don't want Edge on there, it'll take Edge off. You don't want it'll edge your system. You don't want the widgets that are built into Windows 11. Yes. You don't want the windows that are built into Windows 11. It'll take those off your taskbar. A whole bunch of stuff from Windows 11 Debloat. It'll take the edge off. There you go. There you go, Eclipse. It takes the edge off. All of these things It will give you the options to remove them from your system. I've used it myself with no downsides to it. It allows you to pick and choose what you want to take off and what you don't. There are a couple others like this. You can find them. They're all work about similarly. But if you don't want Copilot and recall and all that crap on your system, make it go away. If Microsoft won't give you the means to do it your damn self. And part of the reason why you actually can pull these off is, well, Windows 11 has to go to government systems and military systems, and these can't be on there on those systems.
Depends on the level of the system, but generally, yes.
So there has to be some compartmentalization.
There has to be the customization to allow them to remove these things that are considered either unnecessary for various reasons or potential security violations. So the whole thing we have called STIGs, which stand for Security Technical Implementation Guidelines, which says turn off all this shit.
And usually they leave those as scripts for system administrators to do it, because they don't want end users to do this shit to get rid of the products that they want you to have on your damn system. This will take off like telemetry and other stuff that you don't want going on. Like all the stuff in the background that's constantly being sent to Microsoft, you can make it go, no, because that has to be, you have to be able to disable that, not only on American systems with government, but also in the EU. There's a lot of ways they say, no, you can't do that crap. What the hell? So it has to be able to shut that off in some ways. This is how you do it. And people have just assembled the scripts to do it. So if you buy one of those Copilot Plus PCs and you don't want Copilot on it, get rid of it. It's not a hardware thing. It's all a software thing. There's no part of Copilot Plus that cannot be removed via software. So you're fine. The recall, all that, goodbye. All right, so hopefully that answers your question, Liam. You got a couple different things there for you to help you off. All right, Nathan, you're having problems with your keyboard again. I'm sorry. Yes, I am. That damn keyboard. I got an optical keyboard that I've been messing around with, optical mechanical, and the 3 key on the number pad, the optical sensor no longer fires. I have no idea why. I've tried all different things. Although it's weird, it does fire when the computer starts up of its own accord. Then when the computer gets going, it won't fire properly. I've tried resetting the keyboard itself because it's got its own onboard memory and software to it. I've tried resetting that. It doesn't do shit. I've tried a couple other things, and that sensor just is dead. It will not function properly.
You tried cleaning the Jeffries tubes?
Yes. But mentioning it, you did get me a little curious. Yours is optical. So what's the difference between mechanical, optical, and Hall? Thank you, Nathan. All right. When people say mechanical keyboards right now, it's not just a one thing. It used to be. Mechanical keyboards used to be, there were two. There was mechanical keyboards and membrane keyboards. We've talked about this a little bit before. Membrane keyboards had this little gushy layer on it, usually kind of rubbery or something, that would have these little marks of graphene. That's not mechanical. That's just, that's just switch type. Those weren't switches. Those were just hold the keycaps on. Membranes are the little bits of graphite that touch against each other. And when you push one against the other, it makes a connection. So there's not even really a little switch there. It's just rubber holding these two bits of graphene apart. And when you push them down, they make a connection. And they made a membrane of it. And you couldn't fix those. You couldn't replace those. When a membrane keyboard dies, here, let me see. I've got an example right here. Ye olde e-waste keyboard. This is a Logitech K120. This is the $10 keyboard you used to get from like Office Depot and shit. The e-waste keyboard. There's nothing real special in here, and the way the keys bounce back and forth is there's just a little bit of rubber or any other thing. That's what you're pushing down on, and it bounces back. The other type of keyboard is a mechanical keyboard. And why they call it mechanical is it actually has physical switches for every single key. Like your light switch is a mechanical switch because you are flipping something, you're interacting with it, and a piece of metal is being connected to another piece of metal. Even, for however long, that's a switch to connect the connection. Each key had its own individual switch that was wired in, and like an old school typewriter. Not really, because that's kind of, I guess.
Slightly. It's more in that direction than other analogies we might use, but not fully there.
And the advantage to those was tactile feel, speed, customization. You could get the keyboard to feel exactly the way you wanted to. You could respond the way you wanted to. If you wanted it to be clicky, you can make it clicky. If you wanted it to be just linear straight. If you wanted the key to push faster so for gaming purposes, you could interact with it quicker. All of those options are available with mechanical. Well, then they started spreading out, and now you have subcategories of mechanical. You have the original mechanical switch, then you have mechanical optical. And instead of, typically when you push the switch on a mechanical keyboard, it is a switch. It is an electrical signal that's being completed by pushing two bits of metal together, and that says you push the button. Optical is different. Optical uses these little light sensors, infrared. It's not ultraviolet. It's infrared. It's you can't see it. Yeah, it's infrared. It's the same one you use for your remote control. And it keeps an infrared signal on at all times. So there's a sensor. It sees the infrared signal, and when you push the key, you're not actually completing a circuit. It's a little hard to see. This is actually an optical switch. You can't even see the damn thing.
You are instead breaking a light path.
Yeah. Optical switch. Let me see if I can show you what these look like. Because
while he's doing that, so it's basically you're getting between the light and you. It's breaking the path.
Yeah.
So it goes, oh, hey, something's been triggered, and the little chip in the keyboard goes, which thing was triggered here? That must mean it's this key.
And the advantage of optical is speed, because it reacts much more quickly than pushing a keyboard button. Now, will it be in a way you can tell? Maybe, maybe not. We're talking shreds of a second. Here, little itty bitsy bits of a second. But also it means that the keys themselves can't really wear out. Like the springs could give out over time, but the switches themselves can't wear out, because all you're doing is you are pushing down the key, and it's just putting a little bit of plastic down there. It's not actually making an electrical connection. It's just woo, woo, woo. That's all it's doing. So you are, in theory, the longevity should be better, except in my case, not so much.
Well, I would say in a lot of people's cases, it's going to be similar, because what's more likely to happen is you're going to wear down your keycaps, and then when you're replacing those, you're more likely to screw something up.
It is easier to replace optical switches because they're not actually connected to a circuit board. You just pop them in and out. That's all they do. The newest type for mechanical is Hall effect mechanical. And these are based off of magnets, and the Hall effect, if I could think about how to explain this to you. They use the intensity of of the magnetic field to detect the key press, as opposed to, however far the magnet is away from the sensor is how it reacts. And all you're doing, instead of pushing a key, instead like these just push a little piece of plastic down, with a Hall effect switch, you're pushing down on a magnet to push it down into the sensor range. And the advantage there is you can actually tune the sensitivity of every single sensor on your keyboard so that you can make some of the keys react faster than others. Like if you want certain keys to go faster, you can, or others you can to react slower. And you can get infinite, like very granular customization of your keyboard down to a per key basis. That is only for the most
assuming of course that the keyboard allows for it. Some companies may produce Hall effect keyboards that don't have all the fine tuning, but that's well,
that's all. That's just a software issue. All of them can do that. It's a software thing. You do need to have the software for the keyboard, which also means if the company stops supporting the keyboard, your tuning software, which required to tune the software, that's kind of a downside there. So of them all, now that I've had experience here, I would go back to a hot swappable mechanical keyboard if I had the option. Because that would just be, you can swap out the mechanical keys without any soldering needed. But it's just a switch. And if a switch goes bad, you can pop it out and replace it. The underside remains intact. That would be my preference because the optical, it's neat, but I don't see how that long-term is practical. It's interesting and it works, but And the Hall effect is entirely based on software, which is entirely based on a company supporting that software. If the software goes,
the Hall effect keyboards do have one additional advantage, and that is if you are in a high dust area, it's not a clogging issue. There's nothing to clog.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much the breakdown between them. Also, mechanical keyboards are super cheap now compared to optical and Hall effects. You might not be able to get a hot swappable one, but I've seen hot swappable mechanical keyboards as cheap as $40. And that means they come with their own set of keys and you could change them out to whatever switches you like later. So, yeah. Okay, last one is from Jessica. Hello, Nash and Mike. Hope you're well. Do you have any recommendations for good USB hubs? I need something to extend the length of the ports from the back of my computer over to my keyboard so I can use a Stream Deck and a microphone. But I keep having issues with dropouts. The system just stops recognizing the hub, and I don't know how to make it stop. Thank you, Jessica. Okay. USB hubs.
My first guess there is that it's not a powered hub. I've run into some situations at work recently where basically non-powered hubs, we have a few that are approved, are having dropout issues because people are hanging so much stuff off of them that is drawing power. And the hub is just like, I'm trying. Oh, I can't. And the computer goes, oh, there's no hub there anymore.
Yeah. Powered hubs is because USB draws its power from the motherboard, which draws its power from your power supply, and it draws 5 volts. It actually depends on the USB these days because they've changed it.
If you get a USB-C hub, then maybe it's pulling, it's better power it can provide and would sort you out. But that requires you to have a USB-C port available.
If you're going to be, let's see, that's not, I need a hub, not a charger. Hub, please. Does this have a charger with it? It does. Okay, good deal. Brands for USB hubs, I would recommend Anker, Anker, because they are pretty much, they are an established brand. They've been around a long time. I looked for them for chargers and stuff, and they make USB hubs as well. They may be pricier, but they will have the ability, they will be, probably built a lot better than the cheap $5 ones used. Like I've got a barrel of USB hubs that have I don't know what it is about the cheaper USB hubs that they're just so iffy. You will have to spend a little bit on these. Let's see. Good Lord. What micro cable? What's the name of that brand that I can't think of right now?
That's a good one, Nash. I don't know.
Why is the brand gone right out of my head? Damn it. Monoprice. That's it. Why is that thinking? I was getting Monoprice and Micro Center mixed up in my head. That's the problem. Monoprice is another brand. Do they have USB hubs? I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, Monoprice, they also make USB hubs. I would look for a powered one from them as well, because I know they tend to make reliable stuff. They're another one of those brands that have been around for a while. Make sure the hub you're getting is at least USB 3.0. For what you're using it for, you don't need more than that, because microphone and the Stream Deck, that's still, I think those are both USB 2.0, honestly. I have yet to see a USB 3.0 microphone. So those are probably still USB 2.0. So
seeing USB 3 headsets, we had problems with them at work. They set off intrusion detection software.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the powered ones tend to be a little more reliable. I've come to find. So that'd be my recommendation. It's with USB hubs, it really is a question of you get what you pay for, and that's a little frustrating. Because there are so many of these. I'm looking at online right now. There's so many. There's like $10 and less. So you're like, well, I just need a little hub or something. And USB is a wonderful protocol for allowing, if you set the connectors properly, you could just split off one connection into many others. But it's not as simple as that, even though it can be. If you're using it in the bare basic, simplest way of splitting the connection around, it'll work, but you may run into problems depending on the device. It might be that the hub you have is so cheap it can't handle the bandwidth from two USB 2.0 devices, which is a really cheap hub, because that's USB 2.0 is 480 megabit per second at most. We're not in gigabit per second. We're at megabit per second. So it's really low down. It's half a gigabit per second, if that. And if those two devices are colliding into one another because there's not enough bandwidth available on that USB hub, that's your problem. Hell, even powering that's not going to help it. So you're going to have to get something a little better than just basic. And make sure at least a USB 3.0, because that'll have enough bandwidth, should have enough bandwidth. If plugged into a USB 3 connector, should have enough bandwidth to handle the devices without anything crashing into anything else. You have anything else on that, Mike?
I mean, it's possible if the hub is old enough that it might not even be USB 2, and that could be a problem as well. That's a problem we have with older stuff. I got this is from my my Stream Deck, and I so appreciated this. This is you can't even. Let me see if I can get the camera to show you this. If you look carefully at the connector there, it actually has 2.0 and 480 megabit per sec molded into the connector. So it tells you exactly the bit rate that this cable is rated for. So much of the old USB stuff and a lot of USB 1.0 and 1.1 looks just like USB 2.0. A lot of the old USB stuff is indistinguishable from the newer stuff. That's why when the newer stuff started coming out, 3.0, they started making the little tab inside the plug blue, so you would know it was a USB 3.0 compatible plug.
they didn't do that. USB 1 and 2 are both white, I believe, or there wasn't even a color code back then. So, yeah, you might actually be using a USB. It depends. You don't say, Jessica, but it depends on how old that hub is. Yeah, you might even be using a USB 1.1 hub, which that has almost no bandwidth. That would explain why it'd be dropping out and colliding and crap. It's not happy is the issue there. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like just Anchor or Monoprice. Those are just brands I trust. They've been around a while. They make reliable stuff. They're there. They have customer service. They have people you can actually speak to. They're not a fly by night. So if there's anything you need help with, they will help you. So, all right. I think that is all the questions we have this week. So yeah, that's going to do it. We'll be back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you have tech questions for me and Mike, you can send those to request@radio.air.com. Until meanwhile, we'll see you next time. Good night, folks.